Welcome to the 7th and final episode of Where is Jón?
Some breaking news this lunchtime in the case of an Icelandic man who went missing in Dublin 5 years ago and hasn't been seen since. Our crime correspondent...
By the afternoon of Tuesday, February 13th, 2024, just hours after the search for Jón's remains had started, news of it was breaking in the media, including on RTE. Santry Domain is a public park, so people walking and cars driving at the other side of the lake could all see the Garda search activity.
So what's the development this lunchtime?
Well, the Gardaí have commenced searching a public park with forestry and a lake in Dublin as part of this investigation. The Gardaí at Ballymun are supported by the Underwater Unit and specialist cadaver dogs. Now, the park is approximately 3.5 kilometres from where Mr Jónsson was last seen. If you keep going the direction he was last seen walking, you will eventually come to that park in Santry Domain.
By that evening, some of the Irish tabloids were reporting the story with what appeared like further new information about Jón.
It's understood officers believe he had lost thousands of euros while playing poker in Dublin before his disappearance and was meeting someone to get access to more cash. But it's feared the meeting erupted in violence and Mr Jónsson was killed before his body was dumped in a park in Santry, North Dublin on February the 9th, 2019, the day he was last seen alive.
From RÚV in Iceland
and RTE in Ireland,
I'm Anna Marsibil Klausen
and I'm Liam O'Brien.
And this is Where is Jón? Episode 7, Bring Him Home. The second day of the search was Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2024. And Liam was down near the lake at Santry Domain.
Okay, so it's day 2 of the search. Yeah, it's about noon now, coming up to noon. It's dry day, even though it's overcast. There's quite a number of reporters here now this morning, cameramen, photojournalists and reporters, and there's been a lot of interest overnight, both in Iceland and Ireland. And this morning, the search is in a wooded area, so we're just a bit back from the water. The dogs are being changed every kind of hour with the dog handler, Paul Murphy. Jón's family are back in Iceland, obviously waiting for news of anything. But as of yet, there is no news.
Nina and Jón's daughters, Julia and Helena, actually stayed in their beds as the search was progressing.
But I was really just hoping for this case to be over. Then again, I didn't want to make too much hope, since it's always been like we can't build up too much hope and then fall into a ditch again and then build up more hope and then again just the same circle. So
we were so tired and the days were like endless and we were just waiting for answers. We slept more than we have ever slept.
I was kind of hopeful that something would be found or someone. I wasn't really hoping it was my dad. But I wanted something to come.
On the afternoon of the second day of the search, there was a breakthrough, a potential find of human remains. No one could quite believe it.
Gardaí immediately contacted Jón's family with this news.
Well, the 3 dogs independently have given an indication to their handler that there could be something in a particular area.
Sergeant Damien Beakey.
The place that we're searching, which is kind of would back up what we have on the anonymous notes. We sealed off a crime scene and we are using our experts in the technical bureau to see can a further search be carried out using their expert equipment.
The new Garda team had reset relations with Jón's family and ensured they were the first people to know about any new developments before they appeared in the media.
We feel it's very important because we can see them ourselves. There is media attention on this and has been since this morning and yesterday actually. We have now concentrated on a particular area. We've put crime scene tape up and the media can see that. Obviously, even though they're a bit away, they can see that. So we don't want that getting into the media and getting the information over to Iceland
It's so rare to get so close to a story as sensitive as Jón's. But with agreement from both Gardaí and Jón's family, we were able to capture some of what was now beginning to unfold.
It is now a crime scene. It's been declared a crime scene officially, and no unpermitted entry is allowed until we left the crime scene. Like, we have to wait now till tomorrow. So we are where we are, and until we find more tomorrow, like, we haven't found anybody yet. All we have is 3 dogs giving us an indication, and that is what we have until we dig deeper into the ground, I suppose.
Anna Hildur was the Gardaí's appointed contact within Jón's family. So she was the one who received the news that cadaver dogs had positively indicated the site of human remains. Liam called Anna Hildur just minutes after Gardaí had informed her of this news.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I don't know exactly how I feel. I'm relieved, I'm anxious, I don't know, all of these feelings together. I was talking to my mother about it also. We need that relief. We need him to be found there. Mm-hmm. And we're also thinking, what should we do next? Should we all meet, if he will be found? Will we be ready for it? What is the next step? And so on.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think it's probably important to not get ahead of yourself just yet and take it day by day. You really got to just take it day by day. So that's easy for me to say, I know that.
No, but I think it's also right, because it's like if we all meet before he will be found, it's like, what would we be doing, So I think it's just best we take it from there if he will be found.
Yeah, as you know, they're going to just start tomorrow now with the dig, they clean the ground, and then they try and recover whatever might be there. The dog handler has said it's definitely human remains, but it could be a needle, a vial with blood in it or something, It's it's not fully clear, but we all hope, of course, it is Jón.
Daniel, Jón's brother, wasn't really able to take in all that was going on. His wife, Natalia, had never met Jón, but she was also living with his disappearance, as she supported Daniel throughout the days of the search.
I tried to keep her updated about what was happening and speak about and try to open this thing so it wouldn't be like something that I would just be replaying in my mind. I took the updates one time per day, more or less. The flow of messages and everything was so overwhelming at times that I just tried to check it 1 or 2 times per day. So I tried to speak about and say, speak about what was going on or what is happening and what I'm feeling or what I'm going through. So that helps a lot to have one person who can understand you and knows you in such a way. Mm-hmm.
The search for Jón was receiving extensive media coverage as it unfolded, but not all of it so good. The newspaper article at the top of this episode that said Jón had gone out to meet someone for cash and that meeting turned violent, which led to his death. Gardaí working Jón's case told us there's absolutely nothing to suggest this. And just like the article we told you about in episode 5 that quoted a source saying Jón had got into a row and was hit a few slaps in the Bonington Hotel on the night before he disappeared, again, Gardaí told us this is entirely untrue. An altercation did happen in the hotel that night, but Jón wasn't involved, nor was he anywhere near it.
Back to Saint-Germain in North Dublin. We were now into day 3 of the search for Jón's remains. Paul Murphy is the specialist cadaver dog handler the Gardaí had called in to help. Over the years, together with his dogs, Paul has helped recover many human remains.
This is Skipper. Skipper is a Springer Spaniel, and like all of Paul's dogs, he's received thousands of hours of training.
Come on, Skip.
With a sense of smell over 1,000 times greater than the average person, cadaver dogs can detect human remains buried up to 15 feet below the surface, as well as underwater.
I have a piece of odour now in the fork of a tree.
Paul is showing how his dogs work.
And we'll walk down to the end here just to make it look as if it's a real search as much as possible.
And before he released Skipper from his box, Paul placed some human hair in a sealed bottle, odour as he calls it, out of sight and hidden within a tree.
When I release Skipper, I'm going to give him a command to search.
And he's trained specifically for the recovery of human remains?
Human remains only, yes, yeah. He'll detect blood, bone, teeth, hair, and tissue. So I'm going to let him off now. I'm going to give him a command. Find. He's away now. The wind is coming this way. He'll pick it up, I'm sure, on the wind. We always search against the wind to give the dog a better chance.
So he's running like mad now in circles largely?
His nose is going all the time. As soon as he pins it, it's blowing all around the place now. So he's going to take him a few minutes to actually determine where it is. But I think he's got order there now. Good man, he's coming back to me. Okay, find. He come back to tell me he's got order. Okay, now he's barking. He's at the target order. So he come back to me and he'll come and go. And I'll tell him to go find, and he's gone again. The reason for that is, the reason I trained him like that is because if he's in a forest or somewhere where I can't get to him, he'll keep coming and going to me and bringing me until he gets to the target order.
Wow.
Okay. Good boy, good boy. Come here.
When Paul is searching, he will often use steel rods, which he pushes down into the ground. This opens the ground very slightly, so if there are human remains below the surface, odors will rise, giving the dogs an even better chance to detect.
We'll use another dog now just to give you a second look at what happens, and I'll explain. This is female, her name is Brona.
Paul is very careful to use and train multiple detection dogs when working with Gardaí. When he was on the search for Jon, Paul used 3 individual dogs.
The reason I use multiple dogs is as a backup. If a dog makes an indication, and a strong indication, I like to get a second opinion and maybe a third, you know. Okay, Brona, good girl. Find.
Back to Saint-Domingue and to the search for Jon's remains.
By the afternoon of day 3 of the dig, a Garda crime scene photographer was now on hand.
It's 15th of February 2024, Sergeant Damien Beakey from Santry Garda Station, back here at the scene of a possible location indicator for the presence of Jan Jonsson.
The area Paul's cadaver dogs had positively indicated for human remains was quite specific. So it was within a 15 to 20 foot radius of that point that Gardaí focused in on.
Yesterday we were here with the Technical Bureau and we were trying to deal with the ground, but the shrubs were getting too thick and the roots. So we've since got our search team with shovels and pickaxes, and we've done a bit of digging. We've done a number of hours. Again, with our dog, who is still given positive, 3 dogs who are still given individual positive indicators to a particular area. But we've since finished. The roots are getting too thick. We're going to reconvene tomorrow and hopefully have the presence of a digger of some sort of heavy machinery to assist us.
What are you thinking at the moment? I mean, I assume that you're still open to possibilities.
Yeah, I suppose the positivity levels are probably not too dissimilar to this time yesterday evening, where once the dog has given us positive indicators, we're going to have a sense of positivity, hence we're coming back tomorrow, and we won't give up until there's nothing to follow. And at the moment the dog is telling us something, and we got the dogs for a reason, and that's what they're doing, so we're going to listen to them.
The following day, day 4, a forensic anthropologist was now on the scene. As it appeared, Gardaí were edging closer to finding something, especially when what looked like a kind of plastic sheet was discovered beneath the surface in the area the dogs indicated positively for human remains.
4 days in, Gardaí were doing everything in their power to ensure this dig site was exhaustively searched. Back in Iceland, Jon's family were desperately awaiting news, hoping for a positive outcome. And here in Saint-Domingue, the locals were hoping for that too. And you come here quite a bit?
Every day. Sometimes walk down to the lake and have a look and can't believe what's happening. Very sad.
It's a different scene today down by the lake.
Yeah, it is a different scene altogether. It just feels scary.
When you're so used to walking an area, like that area where that's cornered off, in the summertime, there would be wild garlic throughout that whole area.
It was Jón's family that these women were thinking about.
I mean, from the very beginning, I mean, they made everyone aware of what was happened because there was posters up everywhere, and they didn't stop. They just kept on about it and wanting to find him. So yeah, we heard, of course we've heard of him. I think everybody has.
To think that someone would physically hide a body is just mind-boggling. And to think that a poor man would be lying like that. And there's no words to describe what his poor family must be feeling.
Going through. 5 years now. You'd rather they put an end to everything, and they can put their mind at rest.
But, on behalf of Irish people, I hope to know that we're really, really thinking of them.
It was on this, the 4th day of the search, that Jón's sister Anna Hildur texted me a picture of something she'd just found again. It was the drawing from the Englishman in Thailand who had a psychic vision of Jón's final resting place. Remember, we told you in our previous episode that sketch included 2 large trees in an area elevated above a body of water, very similar to the area Gardaí were now searching. I didn't know what to think at first. We informed Gardaí, of course. They've since made their own inquiries and ruled out any connection. As it turns out, it's easy to get pulled in and see evidence where you want to see it. Hope does that to you. The psychic drawing was just a crude outline of 2 trees and some water, and apparently total random coincidence. By that evening, Friday, February 16th, the 4th day of the search, things suddenly became very clear. It was the outcome no one wanted.
We've dug a substantial area.
Sergeant Damien Beakey.
The dog was this morning indicating positivity like the last couple of days, but in the last hour or two, that positivity is kind of gone. We didn't give up straight away. We kept digging. We dug a kind of a wider area. We got the dog to concentrate on the soil that we'd taken out of the ground, but going from the dog and what he and she, the 3 dogs, what they're indicating together with the handler. Unfortunately, we don't see the positivity we had over the last couple of days, and we've had to pull out.
How are you feeling about that?
Of course it's disappointing because, we wouldn't have done what we've done over the last couple of days if there wasn't a bit of hope and a bit of reason to be doing what we're doing. It's just a pity because at the moment, to a degree, are back to square one. We'll reconvene with the investigation team and the next stage in relation to the investigation. We certainly won't give up anyway.
Gardaí had made the call to Jón's family to tell them the news. And not long after, Jón's sister, Anna Hildur, recorded with me, giving her first reactions to what had been a real emotional roller coaster of a week for everyone.
It's still in our hands, because I didn't find him. And it's still in our hands. And the first thing I was thinking is okay, if somebody wants him to be found, because we had these 2 letters, and the first letter said, where he could be found, and the second one just more specific. So this person must want him to be found. And then you go thinking, all these years, and the water, and the mud, and the weather, does his remains just go all over, or, yes, the head has been spinning the whole day.
All the heads in Jón's family were spinning, not just for that day, but for the following weeks and months of 2024. On the one hand, for the first time, they had felt within touching distance of bringing Jón home, which for most of the family was a very positive thing, as it meant at least a definitive answer. But for others, like his partner Jana, She almost didn't want Jón's remains to be found, because that would end all hope.
I really think I would rather don't know anything. Like, my hopes was, I want to see him again. Ég veit ekki hvernig ég komið svo frá mér ensku, þetta ræðilegt.
You wanted there to be the faintest possibility that he could be alive.
Yeah, really, slightest possibility. Every time I feel bad, I always imagine, oh, he's somewhere, he's just he's living the good life. This would be taken from me if he was found there. You have taken from me my coping mechanism. I have to find a new rhythm, a new path to figure my life out. So, if this was the case, then I'm at the point zero again.
As this series has progressed, we've received tips, emails, and potential sightings of Jón.
And with the help of AI, we've voiced up just a small selection of these.
I'm contacting to say I see a homeless person who fits the description of Jan in Rathmines. He routinely sits behind the bus shelter on the ground.
Please see attached photographs, as this person seems very like John.
Did anyone check if perhaps he travelled by ferry to the Isle of Man? It's just a short ferry trip from Dublin. You don't always need your passport as identity.
What shoe size is John? It's just there's a homeless man that fits details in the podcast. He first told people his name was John, but has since changed it to Paul. He tells others his name is Sean.
Around the time John went missing, I saw a big guy walking towards me on the footpath. And I thought, wow, is that the guy I seen on the news? I googled some pictures and was probably 90% sure it was John I had glanced at.
While many of these tips were more guesses than anything, there were others which were far more solid in terms of the information they offered.
One person who contacted us after episode 4 published is a member of an Icelandic biker gang. He travelled to Ireland about a month after Jón's disappearance to meet with his Irish counterparts. This group has ties to the criminal underworld, and upon the request of the Icelandic member, some of the Irish bikers did some asking around to see if they could come up with local information that may not have been made available to Gardaí.
The only suggestion that came back was that Jón did get into a taxi on the morning of his disappearance, but other than that, they hit a wall. Back in Iceland, there have been plenty of rumours circulating in the poker scene, which, much like the biker gang, has its own connections to Iceland's criminal underbelly. And as this series was publishing, we received a call from within the Icelandic poker community with what feels like critical information, this time from someone whom we'll be calling Victor.
Some of these clubs are simply funded by people who are doing very different things than poker.
Victor is not his real name, nor is this his real voice. Victor wants to remain anonymous because he believes Jón was killed, and he's afraid if he speaks publicly, he could be in danger.
I'm not gonna name any names or anything.
We can't reveal everything he told us because it might identify him, but his main point was that some dangerous people in Iceland wanted to take revenge on an individual they believe had wronged them. A person who appeared untouchable in Iceland, but out of the country, say, in Ireland.
That person was on the poker trip to Dublin, and I believe Jón got mistaken for that person.
In our last episode, we identified somebody who we're calling Alex as the person who potentially killed Jón. We shared Alex's real name with Victor, asking if it rang any bells. It didn't, but to him, that's not surprising.
Thing is, if it had been someone from the poker world who had taken on the job, the mistake wouldn't have been made, because everybody knew Jón and knew he was the least likely guy to get in trouble.
Another tip that came into us came in after episode 3, and this one caught our attention.
Og það hringir maður, hann mjög æstur,
The woman who contacted us told how one bright early summer night in 2019, her phone rang. As soon as she picked up, a man on the end of the line started berating her, threatening that if a certain family member of hers did not fall in line, he would end up like Jón.
Og Jóni sem liggi á einhver síki í Dublin.
Lying in a ditch in Dublin.
The woman who received the call was very confused. This particular family member of hers was long deceased. She tried to interject, but the man kept going. But before hanging up, he addressed her as Jana.
The woman didn't know what to make of this and didn't report it at the time.
But when she heard the beginning of our first episode, where we mentioned the neighbourhood Jana and Jón lived in, she was taken aback, because that call in 2019 had come from a convenience store on that very street.
What the woman didn't know, what the average Icelander won't know, is that actually that convenience store is in the same building as a poker club, one that Jón used to frequent.
That phone call, seemingly intended for Jón's partner Jana, that's not the only threat she's received. In the weeks following the dig in February 2024, there was a lot of media attention around Jón's story. And because of that, it appears that Jana was targeted.
When we were recording our interviews with Jana, it was mostly in English, and then we'd chat in Icelandic. One day, when I was putting my microphone away, Jana said something very strange to me.
Hún finnir það sem sker á dekkin mín.
Einhver sker á dekkin?
Ég er búin að kaupa 2 sinnum í þennan mánuð.
Í alvöru?
What Jana said was, maybe we could find whoever had been slashing her tires. That Jana's car had been targeted 4 times outside her apartment building since Jón disappeared. And on each occasion, Jón's story had been back in the news. The first 2 times it happened was in mid-2019, when Jana appeared in both Irish and Icelandic media appealing for information about Jón.
I miss him so much. Just if you know something, please call Garda and help us find him.
In the following years, as Jón's story dropped completely out of the media, nothing happened to Jana, until February 2024, when Jón's story blew up again because of the search and the dig, and Jana's tyres were slashed again, not just once, but twice in the following 3-week period.
Það dyrt fyrir mig að láta tala það.
She says it's expensive for her to talk about Jón.
All of this strongly suggests that someone in Iceland is threatening Jana because they don't want Jón's case in the media. They want it to be forgotten.
But there's more. The tip we received about the threatening phone call intended for Jana, that call was made in June 2019.
In that same month, Jana had returned to Ireland to appear on Crime Call, and that's when she received 2 calls from an Irish mobile number. The first lasted just 17 seconds. She could hear someone on the other end, but no one spoke. 4 days later, when she was back in Iceland, she got a second call from the exact same number.
I remember this was a very sunny day, and I sat out on my balcony when I got a phone call from an Irish number, and I got in a little bit panic, but oh my God, who is calling me? But I answered that phone call and just said hello, and nobody said hello back, just breathed loudly in the phone. And I got in panic, but hello, who is it? And I called Jón's name and everything, but I never got some answer from this phone call. So I just sat there and just panicked and didn't know what to do.
Jana contacted Gardaí, sending on screenshots of the calls. They spoke with the owner of the number, who said they didn't remember making any calls.
And the police just told me that this doesn't have nothing to do with this case. This was just a mistake or something. And I just think, misstyle, how in the hell could it be a misstyle? You have to put in like the code for the country before you're calling me.
What makes this even stranger is that Gardaí informed Diana, the owner of that phone number, doesn't live too far from where Jón was last seen.
I really don't believe this was a mistake. I don't know why they called me or how in the hell they got my number even.
It's almost 12 months since Jana's tyres were last slashed. She makes sure to park under cameras now. In terms of the overall investigation into Jón's case, we've been in contact with both Gardaí and the Icelandic police for well over 12 months now. During this time, over in Iceland, a new lead investigator was assigned to Jón's case. We'd planned for an interview with him to get an update from the Icelandic police side of things. We wanted to know if they had found Jón's phone and tablet, because although they seemed to have a digital copy, last time we spoke, it appeared they'd misplaced the actual devices themselves.
We also wanted to ask about Alex, the man alleged to have an involvement in Jón's death, because we've been told Alex flew into Dublin just days before Jón did, which could obviously be very, very significant. But shortly before we were due to record with them, I received this text message from the investigator.
After discussing the matter in-house, it's been decided that we won't be giving an interview. For now, at least.
This was really disappointing. And we had no idea why they suddenly would not speak with us now. Could it be an indication something is changing behind the scenes? We simply don't know. We wrote back, offering the chance to send a written statement instead, but got no reply.
One thing we do know is about Alex. He's been released from prison, and since then, he's disappeared. We've not been able to track down his whereabouts, and neither, it seems, can the authorities.
We only discovered in the last few weeks that Alex was out of prison when both anonymous notes were sent to Gardaí. Not only that, but when Alex was last convicted, the judge noted that he was forensically aware, just like whomever wrote those two anonymous notes.
And we know both of those notes, detailing where Jón's remains could be buried, were sent on August 30th. The first to Ballymun Garda Station in 2022, the second, exactly a year later, on August 30th, to the priest's house. Now here's something that's really weird. What date did Alex commit the crime he was most recently convicted of? You've guessed it. August 30th.
The fact that these dates all chime together seems the most unlikely of coincidences. For us, it fits in with a pattern of human behavior where Alex makes big decisions on the same date each year. Which leaves us asking ourselves, could it be Alex who's the author of the two anonymous notes?
Back in Ireland, Gardaí have continued to work Jón's case. Another search took place in Saint-Germain again last October in 2024, after a dog in training gave a positive indication for human remains. But after further inspection from Paul Murphy, the cadaver dog handler initially involved with the search, this small area was ruled out. 6 years on from Jón's disappearance, his family are yearning to get some kind of resolution, something Gardaí can really help them do by doing two specific things.
First, that Jón's case is officially upgraded to a murder investigation.
Now is the time, and it should have been much sooner, that the case is changed to a murder investigation or a criminal investigation.
Jón's brother, David.
Because that means they have more time, they have more funding, they have more people, they have more resources to dig into what happened, to follow up with the leads, interrogate or follow up with people of interest. All of these things that haven't been done, although the clues have been there and we have had people step forward and talking, and we have lots of small clues or big that haven't been followed up with. And that's what we would like to see change now.
The question now is not just where is Jón, but where is Jón's killer?
The second thing Jón's family want to happen is for Gardaí to complete the search they first started in Saint-Domingue last year. The 2 anonymous notes that said Jón was buried there, between trees, near water, not all of the area that fits that description has yet been searched. In fact, only a fraction of it really.
So there is a chance Jón's remains could still be lying there, still waiting to be found and brought back home. Jón's family need that unknown to now be brought to an end. And it's only a full search of the area with Gardaí, the Sub-Aqua unit and Paul Murphy's cadaver dogs that can realistically do that.
We are very disappointed with how the search was carried on and how incredibly small the area, that was searched. It doesn't make any sense. And we were under the impression that they searched the whole park with dogs. I believe they did not. We were under the impression that divers went into the lake. I believe they did not. So, in my opinion, and I believe most of us feel the same way, we want and we need the park searched thoroughly. So we will definitely be very thorough and very strict on that happening when we visit Dublin in a few weeks.
And that's happening in early March, when David, together with his sister Anna Hildur and their mother Hannah, are meeting with the Garda investigative team leading Jón's case, as well as going on RTE's Late Late Show. All of Jón's family still hope that Jón will be found, but that hope has changed from finding him alive to now bringing his remains back home.
I'm honestly just hoping there will be a funeral. That's like my main hope right now.
Jón's daughter, Julia.
I don't think we need to know exactly every single detail of what happened to him, but we really just want to find him so we can have a proper burial or whatever we want to have. And so we can just carry on, really. Or not really get over it, but at least we'll know instead of being stuck in the unknown.
To make this a reality, Jón's mother, Hanna, knows something more has to happen.
There is some answer somewhere. Somebody knows something. It doesn't have to be much, just something. You can't disappear from Earth you can't. You have to dig for it, and you have to interview people. Someone knows something, just something. And it will come up. It will. I know that.
In the days just before this final episode was about to publish, Jón's sister, Anna Hildur, got a call from a friend. Someone had phoned them and was able to give them the real name of the person we're calling Alex. Jón's alleged killer.
Yeah, I got a phone call yesterday. He's a good friend of mine. I've been for many years, and he was telling me about this friend of his who called him. And he could not by any chance tell me who that was, but he told me that he knew this Alex. He wanted to tell me that he is a hitman, and he owes a lot of money to the Lithuania mafia in Iceland. He has also seen a video where Alex shot some guy working at a club. He also said that he knows about more than 2 murders, that he had killed more than 2 guys or people and made it look like a suicide. And that he was very focused and well informed about how to kill people and hide a body. Yeah. And he doesn't know he couldn't count how many people he have stabbed here in Iceland, but nobody dared to press charges. And he sent me this photo. And on this photo, I can see it's the same photo Anna Marsabil showed me once when she was trying to find Alex.
Yeah, I looked at the profile you sent on.
You see yeah.
It's the same man.
It's the same man, yeah. And he was just saying, this guy is a hitman. And he is known in Iceland and everybody is afraid of him.
It looks increasingly likely that Alex has the answers to unlocking Jón's disappearance. But as of yet, he has not been interviewed by either Irish or Icelandic police, nor has a warrant been issued for his arrest. In the meantime, Jón's family await the discovery of his remains. And even if they are able to bring him home, that would be the start of a new chapter. Dr. Sarah Wayland.
So missing is the ultimate uncertainty. We say things like, oh, they just need closure. Or when a missing person's remains are located, we say, oh, thank God for the family. I've been in circumstances where I've worked with families for years and remains were located, and people congratulated the family on the outcome. And I just kept thinking to myself, what a weird world we live in, that we are congratulating people that their loved ones' remains were located, because it makes us feel better that it's over and it's tied up neatly and we can move on with it. And then, once all of that dust settles, then families are left with the sad realisation that their missing person story is over, and the grieving then begins in a whole other way.
As well as being called Where is Jón, this series could be called Where is Jón's Family? Because the answer is everywhere. They have never given up.
As soon as Jón went missing, they came to Ireland.
Dear passengers, welcome to Dublin, where the
They put on T-shirts with his picture on them.
They printed posters, handed out leaflets, searched throughout the area where he was last seen.
First of all, thank you all for coming out today. We are blown away by the support we're getting from the community.
They went on the Irish media, big TV shows.
So who's from your family is in Dublin at the moment looking for your brother?
All of his siblings are here with our spouses and such, his mother.
They inspired the Irish public to search with them and take their story into their hearts.
Today we're going on a hunt to find Johnny Johnson, so we hope you find him.
They worked with us, sharing intimate aspects of the story.
I am really, really hurt.
Some of them, like Jón's children and his dad, spoke out publicly for the first time.
The hardest thing is we don't know nothing. We are on the same point now like it is when he disappeared.
Jón's family, they worked as a team. When someone lost energy or hope, the others were there to keep going. They just never stopped.
I had to write everything down, I had to keep this going, don't give up. And I was so tired, me wanting the police to work more and waiting, a roller coaster of feelings and trying to be strong and doing what he would do for me and everything.
There are so many unusual elements to Jón's story, including those 2 notes.
If you are the person who wrote the 2 anonymous notes, or you're someone who has knowledge of what happened to Jón, or of where his remains might lie, if you're still listening, you've heard what Jón meant to his family. You can hear the continued trauma they're going through because he's still missing. We're asking you now to do the right thing. Tell someone what you know. And please, allow Jón to finally be brought back home to his family in Iceland.
We're going to give the last words of this entire series over to the youngest person in the story, Jón's stepson, Aron, who, despite everything that has happened, has managed to find a way to live with Jón's disappearance.
Although the loss at first really did take over my character, I had to learn myself how I had to be my own character, and that I couldn't make the pain be who I am. There is a fine line between letting yourself feel pain and the pain becoming who you are. It's easy to cross, but most people don't even notice they've crossed it. And it is really difficult to go back, but it's always possible. I've always just talked about him, although in the beginning I never found a way of talking because it was just too painful. But me realizing that just because he's gone doesn't mean I can't continue his memory helped enough. I never really said goodbye fully. I've always imagined saying it, but in a way, it always felt wrong. And I know that just because I've had really bad things happen in my life doesn't mean other parts of my life have to be as miserable. I deserve to be happy just as much as the next person.
If you have any knowledge or information about Jón Jónsson, please contact your local police station or email us documentaries@rte.ie
eða á hvarerjón@ruv.is.
Or you can submit an anonymous tip on our website rte.ie/whereisjón
eða ruv.is/hvar-er-Jón. Where is Jón is written and produced by me, Anna Marcibel Clausen,
and me, Liam O'Brien.
The music is composed and performed by me, Úlfur Eldjárn, with special guest Unnur Jónsdóttir on cello.
And sound design is by me, Peadar Kearney.
If you've been affected by any issues raised in this episode, please visit rte.ie/helplines.
Við bendum þeim sem kunna að eiga sárt að binda á hjálparsíma Rauða krossins 1717.
We're going to say goodbye.
Verið sæl.
And a big thank you for listening.
Og takk fyrir samfylgdina.